Hi, I'm Avery. Today I'll be telling you about George Eastman's life as a child growing up. Born July 12, 1854 in Waterville, New York, named after his father, and died March 14, 1932 in Rochester, New York. George Eastman's father died when he was only 8 years old. George dropped out of high school at the age of 14 and became a messenger and office boy for companies to help support the family. One of his two older sisters was wheelchair-bound and died of polio when he was 16. When George was 24, he planned to visit Santo Domingo and wanted to document the trip. But the camera back then was expensive and enormous. George bought the equipment, but never went on the trip. Instead, he decided to research how to make photography less difficult to use and make it portable. George was very successful. He became rich and moved him and his mother into a mansion. Now, the house is a museum you can go and see in Rochester. Actually, I used to live a few blocks away from the George Eastman house. Thank you for watching.
Hello, I am Luke Perillo, and I did my report on Frederick Douglass. In February 1818, in Talbot County, Maryland, a man was born. His name was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, but people mostly know him as Frederick Douglass. Let's start out with his family. Frederick Douglass had a mother, 3 sons, a sister, 2 daughters, and 2 spouses. His mom's name was Harriet Bailey. His sons' names were Frederick Douglass Jr., Lewis Henry Douglass, and Charles Raymond Douglass. Then a sister with the name of Kitty Bailey. 2 daughters named Annie Douglass and Rosetta Douglass. And finally his spouses, Helen Pitts Douglass and his former spouse, Anna Murray Douglass. His nationality was American, and his political party was a Republican. Then, on February 20th, 1895, in Washington, D.C., Frederick Douglass died from a heart attack after he was done with a meeting. He had lived a long and happy life with lots of great things, like he freed slavery and got other people to free slavery. He did so much for America and was just a great man.
Hi, I'm Hope.
I'm Daria.
And I'm Awesome. What? I am. Oh, fine. I'm Allison.
Welcome back to the Random News Station, where we get news. Also other stuff.
Stop procrastinating, please.
Let's talk about our news story for today.
George
Eastman!
George Eastman was born on July 12, 1854 in Waterville, New York. He died in 1935.
He was named after his father, whose name was George Eastman.
George Eastman the first opened a little itty-bitty business school in 1860.
George the second's parents decided to move that same year.
George Eastman the second's father sadly died when George was 8 years old. So sad.
Also, one of George's sisters died when George was 16. She was in a wheelchair most of her life.
George dropped out of high school when he was 14 years old, so his mom didn't have to pay for it anymore.
George's first job, so exciting, was a messenger office person. This is what a messenger does. I need that back. Thank you.
He eventually landed a job as a bookkeeper at Rochester Savings Bank.
Then he studied accounting at home to qualify for a higher salary.
When George was 24, he dreamed of visiting Santo Domingo. He wanted to document the whole entire trip.
But he couldn't, all because the photo equipment was too big and too pricey.
Despite those reasons, he bought the equipment.
But he never went on the trip. Ever.
After that, he began researching on how to make photography less hard and easier for everyone to enjoy.
He formulated film.
And a device for coating dry plates.
He resigned from his bank job after launching his own teeny tiny photography company in April 1880.
Eastman devised the name Kodak because he believed that products should have their own identity.
In 1888, he invented the first, drum roll please, Kodak camera!
A few years later, he amended the company name to Eastman Kodak.
The company's slogan was,
You press the button, we do the rest. Eastman was one of the first American industrialists to make the concept of employee profit sharing. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Elijah. Today we'll be covering Mount Hope Cemetery.
Okay, I think we should start off with the designer and when Mount Hope Cemetery was made.
Mount Hope Cemetery was founded in 1838.
General Jacob Gold founded Mount Hope Cemetery.
It was designed by Celius Cornell.
Now let's talk about two very important people who were buried there.
Number 1, Frederick Douglass.
Even though Frederick Douglass lived in Rochester, he was born a slave.
He was the publisher of the North Star, which later became the Frederick Douglass newspaper.
Number 2 is Susan B. Anthony. Susan B. Anthony fought for women's rights.
She was arrested for trying to vote, which is an unfair law, but that has changed now.
Mount Hope Cemetery was made because of a cholera outbreak.
You get cholera from water contaminated with a bacterium called Vibrio cholerae.
Here's the geology of Mount Hope Cemetery.
About 12,000 to 14,000 years ago, Mount Hope Cemetery was covered in ice about 1 to 2 miles thick.
As the glaciers started to melt, cracks appeared in the ice.
These became bodies of water and gravel.
When mile-high ice sheets finally melted, riverbeds were left as bridges created all from rock.
And rubble has been deposited by the flowing river.
This is Sam,
And Elijah.
signing off.